the money that she was offered is ridiculous, and she turned it down.
She turned it down twice.
And we're talking, can we say how much?
In the upwards of hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of dollars she was offered just to tour again. That's it.
A couple times.
I'll be honest with you. I've been obviously a huge fan of the Black Eyed Peas. I love their music for such a long time. The guy we have in studio is not only like 27 years going strong, over 2 decades as the lead guitar player for that band, but he's worked with virtually everybody, and he's won pretty much he's got Grammys, he's got BMI awards. And I wasn't even aware of this. He wrote the song for the 2008 Barack Obama campaign, Yes, We Can. George Pajon joining us in studio. George, it is so good to see you. We just met last week, and I appreciate you being here. How are you?
I am awake.
Well, I appreciate you getting out of bed. I appreciate you me and George have one thing, and certainly besides we obviously love music, but we both like to go out and have a good time, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So
I love life, man.
Yes.
I'm very blessed that I get to live it this way, and I hate going to I love going to sleep, and then I hate going to sleep because I just always say this: I wish I had like 10 more hours in a day.
Have there been shows that you've done where you were literally on zero sleep? I would imagine the answer would be yes.
Many.
Yeah, I assume that. So tell me where you grew up.
I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised in LA. And when you were like in high school, did you say to yourself, man, I want to be a famous musician one day. I want to make music for a living. Like, when did that first day come for you? I don't know why I daydreamed about this. I dreamed about it. I don't know where that came from. Like, none of my family members ever wanted to be in the position I was in. They all had, I had an uncle that showed me my first chords, and my first band that I ever played with other musicians was my dad, my uncle, and myself, and that was just, but none of them had professional ambitions. But I would be in high school, and my first book reports that I can remember were on Woodstock and and festivals, and I would daydream about being in front of that kind of audience, and I don't know where that came from, but I willed it to be. It's what I wanted. I knew from a very young age that that's what I wanted to do. I remember that. I remember specifically the day, my parents were very specific with me. If you stay in school, we'll take care of everything. So, I did really well in all education. Graduated from went to a very prestigious high school.
In LA.
In LA, yeah. I went to a high school that was a 5-year high school, and you graduated with your BA's degree.
Oh, wow.
And it was very difficult to get into. I had to pass a 13-hour test.
Wow.
But I actually loved school. I wasn't one of those guys.
I hated school.
Yeah, I loved it.
I hated it. So you love school. You want to be this famous musician. What was the first moment in your life, and how old were you, where you said, wow, this is actually going to be a reality? I can do this now. This is a reality.
Oh, first moment.
Where you just said to yourself, okay, it happened. I made it. I'm going to be doing this.
Probably. So I went on tour for the first time with the Black Eyed Peas in 1998, and my friend and I joined the band to get exposure for our band. We weren't
in 1998.
Yeah, we weren't considering leaving our band to join the Peas.
So you're in a local band, George.
Yes.
And you're offered the opportunity to be the guitar player in Black Eyed Peas. And in 1998, nobody knew that the Black Eyed Peas would be one of the most popular bands of our generation.
No, not at all. Not even close.
So you had no idea. You're just doing it for yourself to try to get popularity with your own band.
Yes.
And then the Black Eyed Peas you guys just blow up. Well, and you wrote a lot of their songs too.
Yeah, that came way later.
Yeah,
we didn't blow up until late 2003.
So about 5 years later.
Yeah, but when I went on that tour, I didn't want to, come home, but I knew it was a reality that we were going to have to go back to our old life until we, I took a leave of absence from my job at the time. Lied that
What were you doing at that time? For work?
I've always been a tech nerd, so I had 25 employees working for Universal Studios.
Oh, wow.
Changing their computers from Windows 95 to Windows 98. And I was the manager of all those employees. And I lied and said I was going to go take my grandmother to drive her to Florida because she was sick, and went on that tour expecting to fully come back, go back to work. And what happened was, after the tour, we got offered to be on BET, do a live TV concert.
Wow.
And my boss at the time saw
you on TV.
Saw that concert.
Did he fire you?
I got fired. First time in my life I got fired.
I think that's okay, though. I think it worked out pretty well.
Years later, we played Universal Amphitheater, and he was in the front row clapping. He was like, you did good.
That is hilarious. I look at the people, George, that you have worked with over the years, and it is astounding. As I did a little bit more research into your career, obviously Fergie, Carlos Santana, Sting, just to name a few, Ricky Martin, will.i.am, of course, from the band, Macy Gray, Weird Al Yankovic, I love, by the way. You've done stuff with him. And then you told me some stories. Let's start with Michael Jackson. You worked with Michael Jackson. There's not many people on the planet that can say that. How did that become about, where you actually developed some sort of business relationship with Michael Jackson?
Well, I had nothing to do with working with him, but I wrote a song with him.
With him in studio? And he was in studio with you when you were...
No. Unfortunately, I never met him. But so I got called late in the morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I get called, and Will asked me to come to the studio. I come to
will.i.am.
Yeah, I come to the studio, and Justin Timberlake and John Legend are in the studio.
Oh my God.
And so we write a song together.
Yep.
And this was supposed to be for Justin's future album, and it was a great song, and I loved it. I love what I did on it. And then Justin, a couple of days later, I don't know if it's days, months, or how long it was, but he met Timberlake, and that became the relationship that created, Sexy Back, the album that had that song on. So he decided not to use our song. So then Will met Michael and showed him that song, and Michael loved it, and he recorded it. And you wrote portions of that song? Yes. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I have a song co-written with Michael Jackson, and unfortunately it'll never come out, and no one will ever hear it. I've never actually heard the finished version with Michael. Who has it? Who do you think has it? will.i.am has it. The only reason he'll never release it is because Michael did sing it a couple times, and I've heard that it's amazing. It could be a massive hit. He won't even play it for you? No. And you've been good friends with will.i.am for how many years now? He's my brother, 27 years. And he won't even play it for you? No, because and I understand the reasons. Right before Michael died, he called, like less than a week before he died, he called Will and said, "Hey, I don't like my vocals. I want to re-sing it." And that's why. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he does. I understand. He won't play it for anyone. He'll never release it. And it could change my life. Like, it is a song that was written for legends. That sucks, but he's, morally, he's doing the right thing. Yeah, and I understand that, but it just sucks that we can't hear it. You have a story, because can I say something? Sure. You can hear it, portions of it. So when Michael actually sung it, he was staying in Ireland in a castle, and the people that wrote it, including Will, went to Ireland. I chose not to. I asked Will, "Are we going to change anything in the song?" He's like, "No, Michael's just going to sing it." I was like, "All right, well, I'll meet him when it's done, and it comes out." So I chose to go home from that tour. Everyone else went to Ireland. Interesting. And Entertainment Tonight recorded that meeting at the studio. And so you could, if you YouTube Michael Jackson, will.i.am, you can hear Michael listening to me just playing the guitar, bobbing his head. So you can hear the first couple seconds of the song. Got you. I might have to do that. Yeah. If you're just joining us, George Pajon, he is, of course, longtime guitar player for the Black Eyed Peas. He's won Grammys. He's won BMI awards. I want to ask you about Prince. The first album I ever bought, I think I was like 10 years old,
was Prince and the New Power Generation. I grew up loving Prince. I think he is, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, you could tell me, the best musician of my lifetime. And there's plenty of them, you, of course, being one of them. But I think of Bruno Mars, and we'll get to Bruno because I know you're close with Bruno. He's your boy. But you have a story that I want you to tell the listeners. For a very brief moment, you were on tour with, not on tour, you were on stage with Prince. Tell me how that came about, because it's a crazy story.
Yeah, it was crazy for me to even be involved in it. So we were on tour opening up for Macy Gray. And I see, we're in Chicago, Aragon Ballroom. I can't believe I just remembered that right now. Aragon Ballroom, and Aragon Ballroom has these big posts in the middle of the audience. And I noticed that there's a bunch of bodyguards guarding something, and I couldn't see what it was or who it was. It looked like they were guarding a post. And then I kept looking to see what was going on. And I finally catch a glimpse of Purple Boots. And I'm like, oh my God, Prince is watching our show. And I'm like freaking out. I'm a huge fan. And so, the show ends and he comes backstage. And then he comes backstage and he starts, and all this is at that place, we were all hanging out in the same backstage area, all bands on that tour. And so he comes in the room, all dressed in purple with a purple cane. And he actually points to the musicians that he wanted to come to his after party, jam session. And he points at me, he points at Macy, he points at a couple other musicians that were part of the tour. And we all go with him.
So when you say go with him, are you getting in a car with him?
Yeah,
So what is it? It's like an SUV?
Yeah, he had multiple black cars.
So you go into a car with Prince. Does he say anything to you, or he just points at you and doesn't say anything else?
He congratulates me on a great show. He's like, Does
he shake your hands? Or?
Yeah.
So he's not really socially awkward. I've heard he was a little shy.
No, not at all.
So he wasn't like that at all.
No, he controlled. He came in a room and obviously controlled everything about the room, but he was very forward, and he would come in. He had a really deep voice. He would talk like Barry White, and he would break the ice with everyone with a joke. Every time I was around him, he would do that. He would tell a joke right away. He was like a comedian, and he shook my hand, said, "Good show," and then he invited me. We all got in cars and headed to the after party venue. And then they ushered us into a backstage area, and he came in there and then told us what was going to happen. He's like, all right, I'm going to go up on stage. I'm going to start a couple songs. Everything's going to be a jam session. I'm playing anything that I'm known for. George, you stand to my left, right behind me. I'm going to start the set with my guitar, and then I'm just going to hand it to you. And he starts the set with the cymbal guitar, which just me standing behind him and seeing that iconic guitar, I'm like, that's enough. I'm good. And so he hands it to me, and I'm like, oh my God. And I grab it. I'm so excited. And he's known for playing very light strings, because I know this because I know his tech for many years, Takumi. And he hands me the guitar. I play one note and break a string. And then Takumi grabs the guitar, looks at me and says, I'm sorry, George, I got to change the string for when he wants to pick this up again. And he only had 2 guitars there, so he was going to go back to that guitar. So I got to play one note.
Oh, that sucks. Did you speak with him afterwards, or was it one of those things?
Not that time.
So that was pretty much it.
That was it for that time. I met him many, many times after that and went to his house.
In Minnesota?
In LA.
Oh, the home in LA. Okay.
Yeah, the home in LA. Went to his house many times there, because there was those jam sessions, and when he was living in LA, would always be at his house.
So George, when you go to Prince's home in LA, it's not really a party. It's more of he invites you over for a jam session.
No, it's full on party.
What is it like going to a party that was put on by Prince? What is that like?
Who's who? It's everyone that's anyone in LA. What
celebrities did you meet when you were there?
Many basketball players.
He loved basketball.
Yeah, I do. Ron Artest was there.
Nice.
All the P's were there with me.
So Fergie and Will.i.am and everybody.
Yeah. A couple actors. And honestly, that's all I remember because I was so focused on watching him.
He liked his women, as you know.
Yes.
He loved women, and there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No.
He was always around beautiful women.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I would imagine it was almost like a scene from the Playboy Mansion at one of his parties.
Yeah,
Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, at the party, yes, 100%. You know, the funny thing is, as many times as I was around him, never saw him with a woman.
Really?
Like, yeah, he was always by himself.
That's interesting. Now, this is a tough question to ask because obviously it's absolutely tragic what happened to him. It was horrible. What did you think when that happened? Because obviously it was accidental, right? It was ruled accidental. Did you know of any of that stuff, that he was having pain issues at that time and he was
No.
taking yeah, because that's,
I didn't know him at all like that. And
Yeah.
I, honestly, it's understandable. And I'll tell you, to carry on the way he was, an absolute 100% nonstop, all the time go person. The older he got, the more things he dealt
Mhm.
with. I'm assuming, I didn't know him that way. And it was just, I'm assuming, pain management that, you know, got careless.
it's so sad because
Yeah.
now, do you agree with me that I think Prince will always be, by some, an underrated guitar player? I think he's one of the best guitar players on the ever.
100%.
You agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
To me, he was the closest thing in,
Like Jimi Hendrix, would you put him in that category?
I was about to say that before you said that.
Yeah.
He's the closest thing as far as the energy and how he attacked the guitar that we had to Jimi Hendrix. He was it. You know, obviously he was influenced by him, but being influenced by Hendrix and actually having the attitude
Mhm.
and I'm gonna go for blood, you know, mentality
Right.
that Hendrix had, he had that, and it was unbelievable, you know. And the best example of that was that time that he did While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it's very famous video. He came on the stage and everyone's on the stage, Tom Petty, and like, it's just a sea of celebrities on this stage, and he comes up there quietly playing rhythm. He wasn't supposed to solo. He just went to the front of the stage and was like, I'm just gonna wipe the floor with everyone right now.
And the notes that he could hit just from his voice was absurd. It was ridiculous.
That's what, to me, what he was. He's very similar to what Hendrix did, very similar to how Carlos Santana approaches the guitar. They use the guitar as a vocal. They're vocal players. You can sing their solos. You can sing what they play like.
George, so obviously you've worked with so many big names in the industry and you've done pretty much everything you can do, but like, were there moments where you just took a step back and said, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm hanging out with Prince at his house at a party. We're friends. Like, he knows me. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's Prince we're talking about here. Like, you're right. I mean, do you ever have to pinch yourself sometimes, or do you just treat him like everybody else?
No, with him, it was a pinch me moment when, this is not a lot of people know this. Prince, for a long time, the bigger the Peas got, the more enamored he got with the Black Eyed Peas. So he started coming to our after parties, and I would see him all the time. And the reason he was coming to our after parties is he was trying to convince Will to do a co-headlining tour.
Wow.
And he's like, I want you to produce my next record. I love what you're doing with the Peas, but in order to do that, we got to hang out. We got to play music. So why don't we do a co-headlining tour? And Will's like, you want me to play? He's like, and his, the way he sold it to Will, he said, let's do a co-headlining tour. You guys are obviously bigger than me right now, but I'll headline one night and you guys headline one night, and we'll just, you know, take over America. And Will's like, you want me to follow you on some nights? Absolutely fucking not. I'm not doing that.
Careful.
Sorry.
We can't swear. No, that's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. You've written some of the most popular songs that I've ever heard in the last 20 years. Let's Get It Started.
Mm-hmm.
You won Best Rap Performance by a Duo or a Group, Grammy for that. Where Is the Love, which is a song that you hear still to this day on the radio everywhere. That was a #1 hit song. Don't Funk With My Heart. I mean, I wanted to ask you this. When you're writing a song like that, let's just say Let's Get It Started, which I love. I still listen to the songs that you wrote every day. When you're writing a song like that and you come up with the melodies and all that, like, are you saying to yourself, wow, this is going to be a hit? Do you wait till after it's recorded? When do you say to yourself, this is going to be something special?
I only felt that way about one song.
What's that? Which song is that?
Where's the Love? And that one didn't feel that way until Ron Fair put 30-piece orchestra on it. And I heard the strings with the song, and I was like, oh, this is special. This could be something that could change my life. That's the only time I felt that way. Everything else, you never know. And most of the time, it's songs that you hate that become these massive hits. Like, I walked away from writing the bridge on My Humps. I thought the song was the dumbest thing ever. And not in this final version. In this final version, I think it's brilliant because Will has a very, very crazy, beautiful gift to write the dumbest lyrics that can actually communicate from the youngest to the oldest people. It's the craziest gift he has. At a young kid, you can see 3-4 years old can be singing my humps, and they don't even know what it means, and it's just the weirdest thing ever. Or a grandmother dancing, singing that.
But it's like a positive, a lot of the writing and the music, especially with Black Eyed Peas, tonight's going to be a good night. I got a feeling, songs that make people feel good.
Everything he's written, he went from being socially conscious with Where's the Love to then the world changed, and because of 9/11, that's why that song was written. I don't know if you know that. 9/11 created that song.
I did not know that.
I can tell that story in a second.
That's
Let me finish.
Yep.
He wrote those songs just to make people feel good. That was his whole, and still to this day, everything he writes to this day is like, I want people to feel good. I want people to like sing about something that takes them away from what's going on in whatever they're going on in the world. And for himself too, he likes just singing about having a good time and positive things. And that's always been his mantra. If you listen to early Black Eyed Peas, everything was about positivity. He's written a song called
Is Fergie the same way?
Fergie's just a rock star. Fergie's just the epitome of the biggest rock star I've ever been around.
You told me a story, and I think we can share this on the air, where Fergie was offered an enormous amount of money to tour again. And I respect the fact that, first of all, she has enough money now to be very comfortable, of course, but she turned it down because she wants to be a mother, which I respect so much. Can you share that? Because, I mean, the money that she was offered is ridiculous, and she turned it down.
She turned it down twice.
And we're talking, can we say how much?
In the upwards of hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of dollars she was offered just to tour again. That's it.
A couple times. She turned it down the first time when we were on the biggest tour in the world. I mean, our last show with her was Miami Dolphins Stadium. So we were selling out football stadiums, and they offered to keep this tour going for another 100 shows. Just keep this whole thing going. Everyone's making money. Let's just keep going. That's the first time she turned it down. And she turned it down then because she wanted to be a mom. She didn't have a kid yet. She didn't have a kid.
She wanted to have a family.
And so she went home to actually become a mother. And then when she became a mother, she's turned it down multiple times because she does not want to stop being a mother.
Do you think she'll ever tour again?
I don't think she'll ever tour again. I think the only thing that she would possibly do is something like a Vegas Sphere, residency or something like that.
Like a few weeks,
but I don't think that we could ever do that because of the fact that, I've heard Will say this, and I respect how he respects the audience. So in America, they're completely done with us. Without Fergie.
And you just came back to China, right? You were just touring in China with the Black Eyed Peas, right?
Yeah, the rest of the world still loves the Black Eyed Peas, and we're selling, our last pre-sale show that wasn't a festival was in Germany, and that was 75,000 pre-sales.
Wow.
And we still pull those kind of numbers.
That's incredible.
Everywhere in the world except America.
I see these 90s bands, some of whom I still enjoy listening to, and they struggle to sell 5,000 tickets.
Yeah.
And here you guys are traveling the world. It's crazy.
But there's only a few bands, a handful of bands that
from the 90s
that are worldwide.
Pearl Jam, would you say they're worldwide?
No.
I'm trying to think of some shows that I've seen. Obviously, the Rolling Stones. Obviously,
when
U2.
I say world, I'm not talking about UK or
everywhere.
France. Yeah. I'm talking about Israel,
right?
Egypt, India, China. Like we just went to China and played 3 stadiums. Like
that's insane. And you told me you once performed in front of over 1 million people, right?
1.6.
That's insane. Where was that?
That's it's an insane event. It's Rio on Copacabana Beach. They put on a live show free for everyone in Rio, and every year on New Year's Eve they put on this live show, and the stage has 10 satellites. If you don't know what a satellite means, when the stage is so far that the audience can't see it, they set up another stage with a video wall with the same PA system, so that those people are getting the same exact feeling, and that was 10 long.
Now there's all sorts of different musicians that get nervous every time they get on the stage. You don't strike me as that kind of person. I know.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah,
I wish I did.
The lead singer of Tool, Maynard, who is extremely talented, he suffers from stage fright. He's talked about this. It's why he won't stand in front of the stage. So I have to ask you this. I know you're not the guy that gets nervous, and you're confident in your abilities, and you should be. But when you're performing in front of 1.6 million people, I would have to be wearing a diaper. So I'm just like, do you get nervous at all? Is that a different feeling for you, or it's just another show? When you're 1.6 million people is a lot of people. Like you'll never perform, in front of that many. Almost no musicians will perform in front of that many people.
Well, here's the thing. You don't know that it's 1.6 million people. No one told me. I just turned around and you just see a sea of people that you don't see the end of. And so it doesn't look any different than what I do every day. And so you just see a sea of people and you're like, oh, wow, this is crazy. The craziest thing of that show to me was looking to my left. And so the stage is on the sand and the ocean is to your left. And I watched boyfriends with their girlfriends on their shoulders. And every time the tide would come in, they'd go underwater and hold their breath. That was the weirdest thing of that show. Was
That's wild.
That I was like, oh my God, you are dedicated to this woman that you're willing to die, possibly because she wants to see the show with a better view. And that's what felt weird to me. When I knew that it was 1.6 was MTV filmed it and had helicopters that were going up above the crowd, and they aired pictures of that. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't anybody tell me that? I got mad after the show.
Maybe it's better somebody didn't tell you. I don't know.
No one told
That's
me.
Insane. Let's talk a little bit about, and by the way, if you're just joining us, maybe we'll take some phone calls in a little bit. George Pajon is joining us from the Black Eyed Peas. His stories and the people that he's worked with, I just think it's so incredible. Let's talk a little bit about Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. This is a political show. Don't worry, we're not going to dive into deep politics. But this is pretty cool. You were the co-writer of the Emmy Award-winning 2008 Barack Obama campaign song, Yes We Can, which I think everybody knows. Certainly most of my audience probably remembers that. How did that come about?
I hate the term co-writer on that song because there's nothing else but guitar.
Let's just call you the writer.
There's nothing but guitar.
Yeah.
Like Will took a piece of a song that I did, and it came from an argument between him and I. And then he fell in love with Barack's acceptance speech for the Democratic the nomination.
Right.
And he put that speech on my piece of music. That's the only reason we're co-writers, because he married
So you did the whole thing.
It was all me. And where that came from, it had nothing to do with politics. I guess it had a lot to do with the politics of the Black Eyed Peas. When we wrote Words of Love and it became a #1 song, I got courted by everyone to be signed as a writer. And so everyone, Will was on Universal Music. I got courted by Universal Music. I got courted by every entity at that point. And I decided I don't know why I thought this, but this is what I thought. I thought it was a conflict of interest for me to be signed to the same organization as will.i.am. I was like, I want some identity outside of him. He's such a polarizing figure. It's his band, it's his brainchild. And so the only way I would have any kind of identity was to go outside of that family. When I did that, I didn't know what was going to come. You know, not a lot of writers know the business of music until they're deep into it. And that was my first number one song. So I didn't know that by signing with EMI, it was the biggest publishing house in the world. So they were way bigger than Universal Music. And so every time from that point forward, when I signed with EMI, every time Will would meet a director for a movie or a commercial or anything like that, or a product, and he would be like, man, please use my song. You know, I'll let you have it for basically nothing. You know, I remember he did that for a movie, met the director, and he's like, can you use my song? He's like, I actually love Let's Get It Started. Can we use that? Absolutely. I'll give it to you for almost nothing. You know, you have to, by law, give me something so that you can legally use the song. And so they agreed to that. And then EMI was, nope, we want this. And so they would he would make a decision and EMI would stop him. And so he got really mad and would come up to me, and we argued for over a month about that. And he's like, how can you do this? You took my band from me. I can't do what I want now. I have to get permission from your people to do what I want with my band. This is horrible. And so the politics of that became very ugly. And how that song came about is we argued and argued and argued, and we were living in London at the time. One day we were going to an after party, and he's like, all right, I'm done arguing with you. You're not going nowhere. We're going to continue to create music and magic together. He hands me a guitar and he says, go in the recording booth, play the first thing that comes to your mind. He just pressed record, and that's Yes We Can.
Wow. And that's how it was created. And every single time Barack Obama went to a stage, you'd always hear Yes We Can. You ever meet Barack Obama?
In passing many times, because we performed that song when he was nominated in the Democratic National Convention. We performed it when he was when he became the president. So we went to a bunch of parties and performed it. And man, that was the roughest gig I've ever done, because
why?
Well, it was so cold in Washington, D.C., and we would walk to the different parties. And so you're like minus 10 walking with a guitar to the next part. And the parties were crazy. Like one of there's a bunch of pictures and footage of us performing it where Sting was there, and he's like, hey, I want to sing that song with you guys. And he's on stage with us singing it. And by that point, we had already worked with Sting, and I had already written with Sting. So we knew each other. And so we played it so many times during that time, and including years later, he invited Fergie. When I was touring with Fergie, he invited her to the White House, and I got to go to the White House and
to meet Barack Obama.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
what was that like?
It was great. And
you meet Michelle too?
Yeah. Michelle, and we met Michelle more than him. Obviously he was very protected, and so it was always at a distance. The only person that actually met him was Will. Like Will and him became really close. And because of that song, we got to do the coolest things that any musician has ever done. Like Oprah became 100% fascinated with that song and asked us to write another song, and she wanted it to be called America's Song. And so we got together with, I can't think of his name right now, but a legendary writer, and Will called me. He's like, hey, we got to write with this guy. I can't think of his name right now. I'm sorry. You could look it up. It's called America's Song. We wrote, and on that song is like Bono and Seal, and
oh wow,
the people on that song is crazy. And so Oprah debuted that on her show, and then years later, she was just enamored with Will and our writing process and how we could, essentially, whether you believe it or not, we did change the world quite a few times. And that's how I found out about Yes We Can. We've played Australia. And so if you don't know this, when you go to Australia and you travel back to LA, you basically are traveling back in time, because you leave at 11 a.m. and you land at 10 a.m. in LA, same day.
Yeah.
And so we left on Super Bowl Sunday, and I had a Super Bowl party at my house with hundreds of people, and I landed Super Bowl Sunday at 11 a.m. ready for the game.
That's
went
funny.
home, and all these people were there, including like Will's manager and a bunch of the P's. Will didn't show up to that party, but he texted me and he said, "Congratulations, we changed the world again." I had no idea what he's talking about, because he didn't tell me he was using my piece of music. He didn't tell me anything. He did the video without me, because I was on the road with Fergie. I'm not even in the video. We had a fight about that.
That song caught on with so many people, particularly a lot of young people too. And then
that's what Oprah said.
And then Barack Obama, in almost every speech, is saying, "Yes, we can."
Yes.
And it's because of the song that, let's just call it, you wrote. So because of the song that you wrote, you have all these younger people that are more involved with the Obama campaign and Barack Obama. And then you have what would be the president of the United States, who was president for 8 years, who continued to say that, by the way, when he wasn't even campaigning. He still said, "Yes, we can," because of the song that you wrote.
Yeah, it was. And so, the way Barack has mentioned the song many times, but to him it was a speech, and it was a young man that wrote that speech. I don't know if you know that. His speechwriter was a very young man that wrote that speech with him, and he referenced it more as the speech. But the way Oprah talks about it, to me, is how important that song was. Oprah, in her mind, said it's the first time in an election where a president won the youth vote, and it was because of that song. And
absolutely.
And there's so many things that happened for the first time because of that song. So it's the first time that a song became viral because of YouTube. And remember, during this time, YouTube had just started. It had just started. And so we won an Emmy because how viral that song became in YouTube. And the fact that Will had the forethought of bringing in all these actors. He partnered up with a guy that he was doing business with that knew all these actors and all these musicians, and they all donated their time. And here's the crazy thing. Now everyone is doing what we're doing right now. There's a camera pointing at me right now. Back then, we didn't even have these things, where you can do a podcast with your iPhone. Everyone, that was the first time that, like, if you look at that video, everyone was using that Apple. Remember that Apple camera that you would put on the top of your monitor?
I do,
Everyone was using that, and that's how they did that song. All these actors from all over the world, musicians from all over the world, were filming themselves on that tiny little camera and sending in the video. And it became the first time that the world came together to do this one song for a cause. And the simple cause was, we wanted, Will was basically touched so much by that speech that he wanted to be connected to it.
You know what it reminds me, George, a little bit of? John Lennon, Imagine. A little bit.
Absolutely. Not even close, because, Imagine will probably be a song that will never be stopped. It's like, to me, Imagine is like Happy Birthday.
Right.
Happy Birthday, you'll know for the rest of your life.
It's a beautiful song. But it just reminded me of that a little bit. Let's have a little fun here. I wanted to ask, like, what would you say is the craziest party you have ever been? Because you've been to a lot of parties in your life. What would you say was,
including last night? Yeah,
I believe that. I was
smoking cigars last night with Marshawn Lynch. So yes,
were you really?
Yes,
with Marshawn. Wow, I know Marshawn. I was actually sitting next to him at a WNBA game here in Vegas, and he was actually very funny. He's actually a very funny guy.
I can't say on air what the craziest party was, because I would get killed. But it is. I've lived a life and continue to live a life that I proudly, I say this humbly, but I say it because of the mentality and the thought behind this person. I always say to my wife and to people that tap out while I'm partying, hey man, I'm tired, I got to go home. And it's like, are you done? I'm like, no, I'm Keith Richards. I'm going to keep going. That's the way I live my life. He lived his life on 1,000. And if you read his book, the reason he lived his life that way was because it's such a blessing to live and experience these things. You just don't want them to stop.
Right.
And I don't party because I need to. I don't actually love alcohol. I'm not a guy that keeps alcohol in my house. Like in my studio, when you come to my studio, people know that I love to drink beer. And so the first thing they do when they write with me, they bring like a 12-pack or a 24-pack of Corona, which is my favorite beer. And I tell them, you leave that inside. Well, why? Well, there's no alcohol allowed in my dojo. Mm-hmm. My studio is my dojo, and I respect it that way. And I do not mix the two. In 27 years of touring, I've been probably drunk on stage maybe twice.
I find that interesting because not necessarily alcohol, but when you think of the Jimi Hendrix types, I think some of the best music that has ever been written in the history of the world are people when they were on drugs, right? I think of those kinds of people.
People tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
Have you ever done mushrooms? Have you ever done, any kind of acid? Or no. Why not? Dude, the way you write, it's so outside the box and so crazy. If you could listen to my original band, Cairo Knife Fight, it doesn't sound like anything else out there. And to me, that's, when the press talks about the band, that's what they say. I didn't come up with that. It's the press saying that.
Right.
To me, that's a compliment in the highest.
It is, because
order.
You don't have to be high and you don't have to be drunk to write some of the biggest hits of my generation, which is a pretty big compliment. Yeah.
But unfortunately, because of that ability to create something unique, it doesn't give you the stardom. And so, I have been told so many times, I've been with my personal rock band, I've been turned down by every label. I've been turned down by everyone. And the one reason they say is, we don't know how to promote this. We don't know how to sell it. It doesn't sound like anyone else. To me, that's the biggest
thing.
That's the biggest compliment ever. But it doesn't equate to me being able to leave the Black Eyed Peas and just do my band.
Right.
And so commercially, they don't know how to promote it and sell it, which is, to me, a travesty. And I continue to do it because I believe whether I do it or there's someone else that's going to get it the way I do. And look, there was a Tool. Before Tool was Tool, they sounded like no one else.
No one else.
And they still sound like no one else.
Yep.
But someone had the forethought of being like, that needs to be heard by the rest of the world.
Great.
And sunk a bunch of money in them, and they became the Tool that we love now.
Yep.
And you think about that band. They don't have no singles. They don't have there's singles that they play on the comp here in Vegas. They're like 8-9 minutes long.
Right.
They don't follow any format.
Yeah.
They don't believe in any of those rules.
Nope.
And it's the most beautiful thing. And that's how I write. That's how I don't listen to popular music.
You don't worry about the radio. You don't worry about how many plays you're going to get. You just do what you want to do. And if people like it, great. And if they don't,
I write from the heart.
Yeah.
I write from every kind of inspiration possible. People ask me all the time, what inspires you to write a song? I was like, anything. It could be a conversation. It could be right now. It could be a movie.
But would you say, George, that one of your many accomplishments is when people will come up to you and say, hey, you're one of the biggest reasons why Barack Obama won? That's a pretty darn, I mean, obviously it's a great song and you've written so many amazing songs, but that's pretty incredible. That changes the course of history, in my opinion, because of a song you wrote.
Yes. The only reason I'm laughing is because that's probably the coolest thing I've done.
Why didn't you write a song for Kamala Harris? You could have helped us all.
We did.
Did you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. She actually took the song. Will took the song, Yes, We Can. And he rewrote the lyrics for her.
Interesting.
And
I did not know that.
We played it in Philly when she was, when they were both campaigning, and when it was announced that she lost, we played at that event. And
is that the night where she didn't come out?
Yes.
Yeah. So you played that night and she came out the next day.
Yes.
Boy, that was a brutal night.
Yes.
That was tough.
We were there in Philly, and we played a different version of Yes We Can, and Will has changed it for every election.
You think he's going to do it again in 2028?
I think he'll never stop doing it until we write something else.
So Will's a pretty big, left-leaning musician, like many other musicians out there, right?
I wouldn't say that he's left-wing. I say that Will just loves people and loves to just root for.
He roots for
underdog.
Good people, for decent human beings.
He roots for the underdog.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. He roots for hey, let's us get together.
I don't know if Barack Obama would be considered an underdog. Obviously, the first black president is certainly a part of that. Yes. I agree, but I never considered Barack Obama an underdog. I think he just outshined with his intelligence. As much as I respected John McCain, and I do have some respect for Mitt Romney, Obama, the way he spoke, his speeches, the way he was with people, we'll never see anybody like that again in our lifetime, in my opinion.
And it's unfortunate that you say that, because we do need that.
We need that.
We especially now, we need people that inspire you regardless of which way you are voting.
Does Will ever bring up Donald Trump ever?
No.
Never.
No. And look, I say this, and here's the only political thing I will say. And I love saying this because it's the truest thing that you can possibly say. I've been blessed to see the world many times over, and we're a young country. Until you can actually stand next to a building that's been there for thousands of years, you don't have the right to have an opinion, in my belief. And this is when I get asked all the time what my thoughts are, anything political. And right now it's very difficult to travel the world because every topic is ruled by what's going on in America right now. Every topic. It's always like, how do you think? Man, it must be hard to live there. Or what are your thoughts on this? And my answer is always very simple. I have to ask you a question. And they're like, I will answer your question as honestly as I can if you answer my question first. And that question is, do you have a passport? Mm-hmm. And if that person says, I don't have a passport, I said, then I can't have this conversation with you.
What do you say if they do have a passport and they've traveled the world? The
next question to me is, do you have a stamp that's longer than a couple thousand miles? Because if you haven't seen poverty like there is in India,
sure,
then you don't know what it's like to live in this country.
That's true.
If you haven't seen
Americans,
a third world country that's living in martial law like I have, then you don't know the privilege that you have to live in this country.
But I so agree with you, and that's why I get so angry when people are seeking asylum and people want a better life for themselves and their families, and this administration, without getting too political, in my opinion, treats them like animals. These are people that are trying to save themselves, save their families. They want a better life for themselves. And these people in America, and I agree with everything you just said, they only see life through their own lens. They don't know what it's like living in India. They don't know what it's like having to struggle for a loaf of bread, right? They don't understand it. They're so privileged, as you said, being born in the United States of America. And yes, we do have a lot of problems here, but I am very lucky, and I've always felt very lucky to be born in this country.
So lucky.
Yeah.
And you said the right word, privileged. And their privilege, look, you're not wrong for thinking that way. You just don't know how lucky you are to have that choice, to have that thought, to actually not be told. Like, I just came back from China, where this thing that we live by does not work over there. Do you understand that your phone does not work? Yeah. So that means that, okay, you want to see the latest football game. There's no way to stream it.
Why do they do that? The government, why do they do that?
They control everything.
Yeah.
They basically control the narrative.
So they don't let you use cell phones in China.
No, your cell phone works, but only for texting and so cell phones.
They don't let you go on the internet.
No. So
wow.
Listen to this.
You can't check your email?
You can check your email.
Yeah.
But most people don't realize this. you can't have a VPN in China. It's
Wow.
the only place in the world that you cannot have a VPN.
Wow.
Like, the reason I have a VPN is not to hide from anything. The only reason is because I'm a sports fanatic and I want to watch the game. And there's no way to watch the game without tricking your computer to say that it is in America, because I want to watch my teams.
Yeah.
That's why I have a VPN. That does not exist in China.
That's wild.
And for you to, I was there in Shanghai for, I think, 5 days total.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it is difficult when you get comfortable living with this piece of equipment to live without it for 5 days. Imagine turning off your phone.
I would lose it. Anybody who knows me knows I'm on my phone way too much. I'm doing work.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And so, look, it is such a privilege to live here. And I'm going to tell you, you don't know this about me. I am that person. So my parents immigrated from Cuba. Mm-hmm. Both my parents left Cuba. Why did they leave Cuba? Because I just watched The Godfather, and in The Godfather 3, he's in Cuba when Castro takes over Batista and takes over the country. And they showed it so beautifully how that happened, where the rebels were literally blowing themselves up to take security officials and police officers that were trying to stop the rioting that was going on in the city. They were blowing themselves up because they believed in Fidel so much. But those people didn't know that what Fidel was bringing in, because if you listen to his speeches, he was not preaching communism.
Right.
He was preaching, let's overthrow this government, and I'm going to show a better way. Well, his better way was communism.
And with your past, and I did not know that about you, I'm wondering what goes through your mind when you see people around the country and ICE agents not identifying themselves in some cases. It's almost like kidnapping. And I see families being torn apart from one another, even those that are seeking asylum that have filled out the proper paperwork and they're legally allowed to be here and they're still being deported. I'm wondering what goes through your mind when you see this happening in this country.
I can tell you exactly. And it's scary for me to say this. It's what my parents say. And like, this reminds me of Cuba. And they're scared. They're scared because it's very similar to when the revolution happened in Cuba, and my family had to make a choice. And the choice they made, and most people don't know about this, in Cuba, if you weren't a part of the Castro administration that was about to take over the island, you were allowed to take a lottery ticket and leave. And so people stood in line with that lottery ticket every day. So both my grandfathers stood in line every day with that lottery ticket until that number was called. And when that number was called, you were allowed to come to the United States if you had a church sponsoring you. So we had family members on both sides of my family that had churches that sponsored us. So on my mother's side, it was Waco, Texas. Right. On my father's side, it was Hoboken, New Jersey, that the church, the Catholic Church, sponsored these people because they knew what was going on in Cuba, and they housed them, and people would take them into their house. And in both of my families, what happened is they had, like, bake sales and food drives and all this stuff, and all the money was used to buy my parents homes for them to come, both sides of my family. Yeah. And that's the only way you were allowed to leave Cuba. And so both my grandfathers left Cuba with $25 in their pockets, hidden. Wow. I think my grandfather hid it in his sock, and my other grandfather hid it in his underwear. And you were allowed to take 2 suitcases. And as you were leaving Cuba, you watched the whole neighborhood ransack your home for everything you own in life. And that was your options. You can leave if you're sponsored by someone in America and your lottery ticket is called, and you're allowed 2 suitcases per family. And that's how my family came to America. I would not be here. I would have never wrote Yes We Can if it wasn't for the fact that this country took people in and gave them asylum.
It's the way it used to be.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Eiffel Tower, what it says on it. I mean, not the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty. Here's the funny thing, that I said something wrong, but it's not wrong, because who gave us the Statue of Liberty? France. And the real Eiffel Tower, the very first Eiffel Tower, I mean, the Statue of Liberty is right next to the Eiffel Tower. When you pass the Eiffel Tower, you see the first Statue of Liberty,
Right.
and it looks exactly the same. That was a gift to us.
Hmm.
And then they wrote that on there.
Wow.
Think about Gangs of New York. Think about those, Ellis Island.
Yeah.
What that meant to this country. I mean, hell, we're in Vegas. Do you know about Ellis Island here in Vegas? The last family-owned casino.
Yeah, the Ellis family. Sure, they're wonderful people.
Do you know they owned Ellis Island?
Yeah, I did hear our mutual friend Steve has told me that story, and I have a lot of respect for the Ellis family.
Man, when I've read, and because I became friends with Steve and Nick,
Yep.
and I love going there.
Good people, yep.
Yeah, I started doing research on why is it called Ellis Island? Because Ellis Island is such a significant place in U.S. history. I mean, think about the movies that have Ellis Island in it. Godfather, Gangs of New York, all these movies that like everyone came through there. Everyone had the fantasy of seeing that statue, you know, and that I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for my parents didn't meet.
Your story's incredible, but what's really sad about it is if we rewind a little bit and this was under this administration, you would not be here.
No.
And I hate that.
I hate it too.
I hate it. And I love the fact that I love to hear stories like your story, and your family must be so proud of you with everything you've accomplished in your career and all the people that you've helped. You know, another thing too.
Hold on. Before you move on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't like what you said.
What'd I say?
Don't hate it. And I'm going to tell you why. This is my belief.
Okay.
We can't hate where we are right now. We have to love.
It's hard for me, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It's hard for me to love what this administration is doing to people. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Hate is a very strong word, and I don't use it very often. I love this country, and I use the term hate, George, and you could tell me maybe there's a better word to use. I hate what this administration is doing to good, hardworking Americans and people like your parents who came to this country. I hate his policies, and I hate his rhetoric. And maybe I'm wrong in using that word. You tell me.
I think you are, and I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you.
Tell me why. Yep.
Tell you why. Because you have to love that you have the option to say that word. Mm-hmm. You have the option. You're not gonna go to jail for saying I hate this administration. In Cuba, you will go to jail. In China, you will go to jail.
Russia, sure.
Russia. Yeah. Look, I'm gonna tell you something.
You're right.
I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me while I was on tour in China. I was in Hong Kong, and because of my ignorance, and it's pure ignorance, I didn't know that Hong Kong was back in China. Remember, they were under UK rule for a very long time. Then they fought for their independence. Now they're back under China.
But I feel like Trump wants to put us like Cuba. Trump wants to be like Vladimir Putin. He wants us to be in a place, George, where I can't say that in the United States of America. I can't say, I hate you, Donald Trump. He wants that. He wants me to go to jail for saying that.
And
that's scary, George.
It is scary.
That's scary.
And here's why I'm going to say that even with that, I don't think we're strong enough as a people. And this country is strong enough to where that won't happen. I don't believe it'll happen. And
I hope not.
And look, it just happened to me. Like what I was about to say is, I mean, my ignorance, I didn't know that. And I was saying things in Hong Kong. I was at a bar and saying, man, I love Hong Kong so much more than China. Oh. And someone came, because in China, and the only reason I was saying that is like, I got to read my sports scores today,
right?
Because I got to open Bleacher Report.
Somebody went up to you.
Something that simple. That's all I was saying. And someone came up to me and is like, "Hey, I'm going to give you some advice. Please don't say that out loud again because you can get arrested."
Wow.
This is China.
Wow.
And I was like, I literally left the bar and went to my room because it was so eye-opening.
Who said that to you? It was just somebody that lived there?
Just the person I was drinking with.
Wow.
At the bar. A random person that I met. Everything changed. The mood changed. It's like, hey, I just want to give you some advice. Don't say that out loud again because you can get arrested.
That's scary.
Probably
good advice. Yeah. Probably good advice.
Great advice.
And I think of Otto Warmbier. You remember that story in North Korea where he took down a poster or something. You know, kid in his early 20s, he didn't know what he was doing. And they killed him. They murdered him.
Well, look, there's so many, and that's why I say I'll go back to my whole passport thing. If you haven't gone to Dubai or Singapore or Israel or China or Russia, and you have, when you go as a musician on these tours, they give you a pamphlet. It's literally comes now. We used to get basically a booklet that you had to read of the things you can and cannot do. When you go to Singapore, if you spit out a gum on the street, you can get arrested for that. And those things here, you don't live with that. You don't live with those kind of rules.
I totally get what you're saying. I'm worried that this is what the Trump administration wants to do.
I think the only time you need to be worried if they actually have here's where you would be worried is if he goes past.
Well, he wants to arrest certain people for speaking out against him. Clearly, he wants to do that. He calls them the enemy within, which is similar language that Adolf Hitler used. What they want to do is you look at the way they treat them. There is no freedom of the press under the Donald Trump administration anymore. He threatens these large companies. He wants to take their licenses away. You look at the Pentagon; they're only credentialing people that are pro Donald Trump. That is anti-democracy, right? That's anti freedom of the press, and that's what he's doing.
Well, I think yes, everything. I can't argue with anything you're saying, but at the same time, you can argue that what's happening right now is the most obvious thing that's happening right now is our eyes are being opened. Our eyes are being opened, and the fact that you are saying the word hate and the fact that you are fearing right now is a healthy thing. It's a healthy thing, because what are you going to do? You're going to fight for what you believe in. And all of us are going to fight for what we want to go forward with. And we're going to have the option of moving past this. There are countries that don't get to move past this. How long has the Castro administration been in power?
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I rarely use the term hate ever when talking about politics. Obviously, I
understand why
I disagreed with George W. Bush. I thought he was a terrible president. But I never really used the term hate.